This is Brenna Turner, and you're listening to The Break It Down Show. It's got the coolest people, like Dr. Bob. He makes a mean martini and knows a thing or two about music. And also super cool, DJ Severe, today's guest. Give him a round of applause, some snaps for how cool and awesome and successful he is. I mean, he DJs for the Dodger Stadium. So, that's a pretty big deal. Last but not least, remember to go to SaveTheBrave.org and help donate to our cause. It'd be real chill.
Lions Rock Productions.
This is Jay Moore.
This is Greg Cruz.
This is Bryce Vine.
This is Dexter from The Offspring.
This is Nathan
This is Sebastian Younger.
This is Daryl Ames.
This is Stuart Copeland.
This is Mick Gillette.
This is Andy Summers.
This is Dr. Bob Greenberg.
This is Gabby Reese.
This is Rob Bell.
Hey, this is John Leon Guerrero.
Hey, and this is Pete A. Turner.
This is DJ Severe, and you're watching The Break It Down Show.
And now, The Break It Down Show with John Leon Guerrero and Pete A. Turner.
Hell yes, you are. And my man John is coming in the studio too, so let me bring John in real quick.
And I wore Dodger blue for this party.
I see you.
What's going on, fellas?
It's all good. You got your COVID hair link going on. I see you.
You know it, man.
I was talking to DJ Severe earlier today, and I asked him if he had seen the championship rings, because this man's about to get look, he's already got really fancy league championships here. But now he's about to get that.
Once they decide, this is kind of what it should be. I got a replica like early on.
Nice.
So, that's what it should be. I think they're still in deciding for a Dodger vision which one of the three we're going to get. So we'll know soon. You know what I mean? They're going to do us. I think they're so focused. They're going to focus on the players and focus on everybody else, and then they'll get to us and we'll figure it out. But once I have it and I know what it's going to look like, I will definitely shout it out to you.
That's awesome, man. Hey, do you feel like you're a world champion? I mean, everybody gets a ring. They're the world champions, Dodgers. Are you a world champion?
I am, most definitely. Most definitely. I feel like I'm a world champion, especially the feedback from the fans. And then when everybody asks me about getting a ring, and when everybody says what you normally say, well, you deserve one just as much as the team. And they break out the levels from what the order hierarchy of different things that go on. I'm usually in the top 5 that is part of what goes on at the stadium. And then I've even heard from behind the scenes what management says I bring to the team in the game. Like, I know for a fact they tried to tell MLB last year that it's not a home field advantage if our DJ doesn't go to Texas. So, you know what I mean? So I've heard different things, and I hear different things around. And even when I have my conversations with management just walking through the stadium, I feel it. So, and actually, I know how hard I work, and I know it's really more about feeling, and then also talking to my peers around LA that do the same thing. And then especially with I had Roche on my own show a couple times, probably like 3 times this off season. We were mixing together, and then just to see the camaraderie and for us to be champions at the same time makes it real special.
That is cool. What about with regard to the season coming back? I mean, this is a great time. Every time is a great time to be a champion.
Right.
But now coming back to the world kind of waking back up again. Do you think that the live environment's going to be as popping as we think it's going to be?
I definitely do, because even on Twitter today, the energy is the same. Everybody's what's the playoffs? What are the walk-up songs? Can't wait to hear you back at the stadium. I've been getting those for weeks. So the energy is definitely the same. And it's actually, if you want to think about it, it's even increased because no one got to witness anything last year. So everybody's like, well, I can't wait to come back and then take it all in. And so it's going to be definitely interesting to see this first opening day on the 9th with just 11,000 in, and see how much energy they can actually bring. That's going to just to see the anticipation. I haven't talked to any other players yet. Even like last year, I got to go to spring training right before we went into this, so I did have some sense of feeling of what they were, how they're feeling. I've had a couple texts from people just about their walk-up songs, like Justin Turner's like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing yet. You know what I mean? But the energy from the fans, like the fans even wanted more because they want the playlist, the playlist. And I'm like, I want to say, just calm down a little bit because this is the first part, and whatever they pick is probably not going to stick anyway. So it's like, but they want it. So I'm trying to oblige the fans just as much as possible because I know the anticipation that they have and what they want because they didn't get to witness it. And it's going to be hopefully more special. We can run it back and then do it again. You know what I mean? To really solidify it and really have everybody feel it. Like even they were talking to Jerry Harrison earlier, and he said like to do it again and have a real parade where LA gets to party. That's the thing that everybody's focused on. You know what I mean? And raising the banner's already up. It's just covered up. Just the different things that's going on with the passing of Tommy, just different things that people want like the energy for. It's going to be incredible.
You're depending on each fan to bring the energy of 6 fans.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
All right. Hey, man, I'm going to say, I mean, we've been over this material. I'm a lifelong Giants fan. I'm telling you what, I'm rooting for you guys this season. I would love for you to bring it back.
Yeah, it would mean so much. I think, and even like they won it last year with everything that was going on, I think it was more relief because people were like, well, we got to get it done this year. Because every year was we got to get it done this year. And it was like even more so you got to get it done like last year. It was even because it was such a cloud over it of what the world was going through.
Right.
So it's like you got to get it done. And then they actually put the Kobe thing into it. It's like you got to get it. You know what I mean? Everybody merged everything that happened last year into it. And that's what we got to get done. This year, it's just, okay, we're coming out. So everybody wants to be out and witness again. So there's that hanging over it as we got to get it done. But really and truly, I think it's just we got to get it done just because of the stature of the team, the way the team is stacked, because it's by far the best team in the MLB. When you look at that lineup, just for a pitcher to try to pitch that lineup, if everybody's on,
it's a lot of trouble.
Incredible. It's a lot of trouble for a pitcher and a pitching coach to figure out who you can. There's nobody you can pitch around if everybody's on. I mean,
right.
Because even you look at Mookie, who's like just incredible. But then even I said last year when I was watching Seager, I knew Seager was going to be the MVP from day one of the season last year. I was just watching Corey, and the Corey I saw was so on. And I just watched. I remember watching pretty much every one of his bats at home, and I just said Corey is on it. Corey is on it, and I knew Corey was gonna. I told people I said Corey's gonna get the MVP. I said if Mookie's fine and Mookie's like the best player on the team, I said, but Corey, his bat is what's gonna get it done for us. And sure enough, that's what happened.
Yeah. You know, with this kind of momentum, I mean, you know, I saw the Giants do it 3 times in 5 years.
Right.
And when you have that kind of momentum, after you just finally get it done, you have that relief. Now you're just having fun.
Right.
So that's what I'd like to see the team turn on for you, you know,
Right.
and for the city.
Right.
And really for the whole West Coast.
Right. I really believe that people are making the projections, and you know our projections work as far as everything. But I've heard upwards of 109 games. You know what I mean? Because it's like they pretty much blew through preseason. You know what I mean? Smashed everybody. But you never know. You know what I mean? Like something always happens. But the team is so deep, even with the people coming up. And then you're right with just the anticipation of what can be, and then just commemorating Adam Freeman on such a great team he finally put together. You always saw the inner workings of him doing it, and it's just to see it come to fruition. Like now, it's like okay, you see what his vision was, just to be able to put that many good players and that many good bats in a lineup, and then add the pitching, because the pitching is also incredible. Also incredible. And then you see my sound, like David Bartley chime in because my sound guy is a Giants fan. All right.
All right, David. Yeah. If you're a pitching coach and you got to tell your pitcher, hey, seriously, you can't let this guy get on. You got to get this batter out.
Right.
And if you're fortunate enough to get that guy out, then you got to tell him, hey,
right,
you got to get this next guy out.
Right.
You got to go all the way down the lineup like that.
Right. When you look at Bellinger is cleanup, and then right behind him is Muncy, and before him was Seager, and you let off with Mookie, and then whoever you float in between there, and then Chris Taylor's bat's just as good at getting it done, and then you whoever else you throw in, and then even if you try to pitch out, and it's like, okay, Rios is coming up, and there's all these different like adjustments you have to make. I don't know how a pitching coach is going to pitch straightforward, unless, I mean, you just got to have nasty stuff that day that's just going to like just be shutting everybody down, fooling everybody. The strike zone's going to have to work along, in your favor for whoever you have pitching that day. That's a lot. That's a lot to contend with. And even Pollock, if a Pollock wakes up, then it's like his bat is so timely. It's just, you look at it down the line, and then you see the stuff that we lost. Okay, because the only thing I think that throws us off a little bit, and I was thinking about this the other day, is Kike being gone. Kike was such a good energy in the clubhouse, and then you can count on him like timely. Kike was quietly one of my favorite players because he always kept everybody light, no matter who it was. He kept it, going. That's the only. I'm trying to see who that new piece is that keeps it light, because everybody else is pretty much reserved. Corey's reserved. Muncy's reserved. I mean, Clayton's reserved. Might be JT, but JT has a different sort of element that he brings to the locker room. So that looseness, I'm not sure where that looseness is gonna come. There's so many reserved players. Chris Taylor's really reserved, and there's nobody else that's young that can kind of like step up. So it's really just resorting to Justin Turner, who's obviously the leader of the team, to kind of keep everything together. However he can keep it together. Kershaw does it, but when Kershaw's pitching, he doesn't talk to anybody. So hopefully we'll see if it's Bauer, because he's a little more loose. We'll see. But usually you don't get a pitcher that takes up that. I mean, all our pitchers are red asses because Bueller's not playing the games. You know what I mean? It's just like, and then May and Gosselin, they're young. So it's going to be different vibe. But to see who can take over that Kike role, and even Jock, because Jock was real loose too. And, with Jock being gone. But I mean, I think everybody knew, like I tell about that, like we lost his piece. Everybody knew Kike was going to get some money because he needed to get paid. And then Jock, he stayed at the first of the list every time there was trade bait. So everybody kind of knew that. But just got to see who can take on that role and who can be that loose point, because it was always Kike.
Let's back up a little bit. You talked about the home field advantage you bring as a DJ, and we've talked a little bit about this in the past. But with such a unique experience last year, having to play in Texas, all of the league championship and World Series games, what difference is it? I mean, look, the walk-up songs are the same. They're still going to play California Love when Kenley walks out of the dugout. What is different about what you would have done in that stadium? How would you make that difference for the team when the songs are largely going to be the same?
This is so good question. So with it being in Texas, I had to pick out of my whole playlist what I would kind of lean on. And so I can only give them different songs for pretty much in between innings. And it was kind of like to make it, it was more of, at least to me, it was more to make it comfortable for the players so they could kind of feel like they were at home, because I couldn't be prepared for every situation, and I couldn't expect the DJ down there, Michael Gruber, to understand every situation. So my thought process was just make it feel as much in the pregame as home as possible so they can settle in there. And then I kind of thought it was up to the players to actually put themselves in the playoff moment and then go from there. I know it worked because throughout the playoffs last year, Michael Gruber would include me in the tweets he was getting from people saying this music is so awesome, this and other. And he always gave me credit. And he actually told me, he's like, man, I really have to get on my game. I said, because you showed me so much more stuff I could be playing that the fans are actually shining on to me. And I said, well, yeah. And I try to keep him exposed to as much as possible without overloading him and without trying to just micromanage each situation, because there's certain things we do in between pitches, and Dieter wasn't there, so they gave him some of that stuff. So there's certain things that only we know that we can do in whatever scenario. And even though our producer was back here trying to tell them what to play here, there's only so much you can do situational to make it seem as close as possible. So I just wanted to make them comfortable. Even some of the players would didn't even know I wasn't there. So I didn't want to tell them I wasn't there. I just said, we got it under control. So I communicated a lot with Rios, Pollock during the playoffs. Everybody else was kind of like in tune. All I would do was just text them and say, we need you. Good luck. You know what I mean? Keep up. You know what I mean? And kind of like, because that's kind of the same thing I do whenever the players I have in contact with, if they get injured or if they're working on something, I always kind of like try to give them a lift up. And I just reach out, say, is everything good? And that's what I try to do for them in the playoffs. It's like a little more behind the scenes stuff. But I sent as much as possible. I try to pick my heavy hitters that I use that I kind of knew would work and make it describe the situation to them as best as possible.
Like what? What gems did you hand over to him?
There was a gem last year. My main one I used last year was this song in the beginning. It's called Circle Up. And so the tradition for Dodgers is we announce them taking the field, and I usually play a track, and then we go into the pitcher's song. So I try to make it as hype as possible. And this one song, Circle Up, was just saying, let's go. And it's like this nice beat. And I know that I didn't even introduce it until we got into the latter half of the season. Season was almost over, and I discovered this track. And I used it sparingly, and I noticed that whenever I used it, it got the players pumped up. And I usually do my thinking where I say, okay, who's pitching? Because if the player song will pump them up, then I can kind of lay back on the before they take the field track. So I have to kind of like think. And so I just suggested to them, I was like, look, and since we're really going to have 4 home games, I said, look, just use Circle Up each time because it fits.
They'll get attached to it.
They'll get attached to it, and that'll make them feel like more at home, especially coming off a win, because that's what I normally like to do. When we're coming off a win, like a big win, I try to keep it lined up just to kind of carry the energy, because I try to stay just as superstitious as they do sometimes. So it's like, I don't want to mess with things like too much. So, and I also gave him some advice. I said, if Kershaw's pitching, I was like, just watch the time on everything, because Kershaw's to the letter. The anthem has to be done at this time. He knows more about the pregame than anybody, because he's set up his setup, towards that. I said, kind of watch the prompts on Bleeding On with him. And I know it's a tough position for him to be in, because that's not even your home team, and you kind of like neutral. So even when Tampa Bay's, you have to just keep it as neutral as possible, but also do the best job. Because I know when I'm tasked with the same thing, because even when I had the A's and the Astros in town, and then we already know the history with the Astros, it's like I still had to be as neutral as possible and do the best job like for the team.
Yeah. That's DJ business, man.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
I mean,
Let me ask.
I was going to say, predicting a song that's going to rally the team through the championship season, that is DJ business right there. To even know what was going to work for that whole team, because you got guys that like country, guys that like rock, guys that like hip hop, and you're picking something out that's going to not only unite the team, but like the whole, like all of us,
Right. It's different.
Well, and you wove it in there, so you created that environment to a degree.
Yeah, and it's almost like I almost got kind of out of a pass, because this year I had so much good stuff that I used last year when nobody was there. I can kind of run that back, so I kind of got a little bit of leeway that I can use the stuff I hadn't really that fans haven't heard. So I just really need to add to it, and it's actually helpful because there's not that much new content coming out that's working. I think a lot of artists shut down during COVID or went into like a deep mode, and I've heard the industry has so many people just like giving them like new content, but I don't know how much content is going to fit what we need. You know what I mean? So I don't know if people were writing the Let's Go songs when everybody's quarantined and sitting at, you know what I mean? So
people are in the mood.
Yeah, they weren't really in the mood. So that's why I'm lucky enough that I can just lean on, because I was searching. I usually start searching for music like about a month before the season, and I really haven't found anything that's that song. But it's funny because I'll wait and I'll listen to the normal places I go to, and then I usually find like 2-3 gems right before the season starts. I'm like, okay, this will carry me through the first couple parts of the season, and then I just got to figure out how to weave it in and then make it work. But at this point, the first couple of homestands, maybe the first like 2 months, it's going to be real easy because the fans just being able to come. The energy is just going to be there automatically because everybody just missed it so much.
Yeah.
They can't wait to get back. So what I mean? The only thing that can derail that is if the team just goes off, just like tanks were bad, which I don't see that happening.
That's not gonna happen.
The energy should already. The fans gonna bring the energy no matter what. Just to be able to step back into the park, the fans gonna bring the energy.
Let me ask you a pure music question. How do you feel about this pairing of Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak?
I love it,
man.
I love it. I can remember exactly what it was. I was listening to one of this morning show, I listen to every morning, Sway in the morning, and then they talked about what's coming out, and I said, what? And they said they created a super group, and I said, and then I heard Bruno Mars, and I was going like, who was like, and then they said Anderson .Paak, and trust me, I'm a huge Anderson .Paak fan, Like, he puts out nothing but gold to me, and I try to use him as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And then when I heard the song, at first I was trying to figure out where were they going to go because I didn't want an Uptown Funk Part 2.
Yeah,
I didn't want that.
No, they were going to go straight to the bed.
Yeah. And I had to say, hands down, I know it's going to be a chart topper. I'm just trying to find a trap or just a trap remix I can use more at the stadium, but I'm gonna slide in the original as well. But yeah, I'm definitely into it. As I was into a lot of the music that came out, especially the R&B. I got a chance to discover so many new artists that are coming up, and I thought it was like timely. I hope they come out with one of the dopest albums, and I hope they tour because I would.
Yeah, and I can't wait for them to get funky about it too.
Right. No doubt, because it's definitely going to sway away from the Uptown Funk stuff. And even it'll have more of a house vibe because Anderson .Paak is so funky and so creative, and his voice is so good. And that's the thing; their voices can go great together. So I'm looking forward to it. And
they're both just powerhouse songwriters.
Right.
Hey, a couple things. I just want to catch our listeners up. Let's just tell them, go look up Circle Up by Party Favor.
Yeah.
Because that's the song you were talking about. Yeah. And then the other thing was you brought up Sway, and we got to acknowledge Sway because he's from the Bay.
He's from the Bay. I actually got my mix on during COVID. So they played one of my mixes one day.
Oh, man.
So, yeah. I reached out to Kelly Kincaid. I got a mix up. So it's actually on my Mixcloud and on my SoundCloud. So it's there. It says Sway Mix. It was incredible. Just to be able to, I actually had no idea when it was going to run. And I actually was on my morning hike, and I kind of heard them describing me, introducing me. I was like, whoa. So I was actually able to take my hike and listen to my mix on Sway, which had been one of my dreams. I did so many things I wanted to do, like during this pandemic, that was incredible.
Okay. Pete went blue on us. I don't know what's going on there, but
blue.
I like to go blue. Actually, I wanted to ask a question because we've lost a couple of longtime Dodgers from the family. We lost Don Newcomb, and that kind of got blown away because we didn't really have a season to spend a lot of time talking about him. Tommy Lasorda has passed. This old guard's going, and my favorite baseball day of the year is coming up. You went to Jackie Robinson High School, and Rachel is still with us. She's 98. She's still out there, and she's still doing it. And at some point, we will lose her as well. And I mean, even like Sandy Koufax is 85. These folks are getting older. What do you do? Like if Rachel's able to come to the ballpark or Vin comes to the ballpark, what's their walk-up music? Like what's the vibe that you create with these legends from the family?
Well, you know what? Vin's always it has to be Frank Sinatra. And usually with Vin, when Nancy B was still there, whenever we did anything with Vin, I'd always acquiesce to Nancy, and then Nancy was always ready. And the same thing with Dieter. He knows the spots because that's what we used to do. Whenever we were going to go to Tommy, I always laid out, and if I didn't, even it would be the same song because it was My Way from Frank Sinatra, and I know he'd rather have it done on organ. So I got out of that. I always get out of that way. Rachel, I was lucky enough to 2-3 seasons ago, actually when they put the statue, one of the producers of the movie, Daryl Johnson, I got real close with right before the movie was being produced. When they were producing the movie, he was having trouble getting tickets to the stadium. So one of my friends, another director, Daryl Rigby, hooked me up with him. So I was able to kind of put him in contact with the right people, and we've been great friends ever since. So when they did the statue, I actually went out to see the statue unveiling because I had time. I was just kind of sit back and all. And then he actually came up to the press box and he said, "Hey, can you come out for a minute?" And I said, "Yeah." And so he says, "Take a walk with me." So he walks me down to the suite. And when I went into the suite, he introduced me to Rachel and I got to take the picture. So now, yeah. So that was like 3 years ago. Now imagine that day, the statue's being unveiled. It's also my birthday because, my birthday's on Valentine's Day every year. So I get to meet Rachel and I take this picture. And so I have a real nice conversation with her, real quiet because nobody's around. And it's funny because I walk in and all upper management's in there looking like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Well, I got invited in," and they gave me the thumbs up. So, because I'm like, where am I? Not by you, not by you, not by you. Yeah. So, I meet the family and then I just, talk to her real quietly about, how I grew up in Pasadena and how I went to the high school there. So, that was one of my most special moments. And the other day I was looking for that picture and luckily I scrolled through and I was able to find it. But that was like one of my favorite days. And like you talk about, it's kind of like iconic that all these heroes that were, losing that mean so much to people that are putting a different spin on it. And you wonder if the people can really appreciate it and who's going to actually carry that in this day and age of here today, gone tomorrow players and interchange. You wonder hey, who can it be that's going to stay this iconic or become this iconic again? Like them or love them or whatever run-ins you had with different people. They're all part of the Dodger Blue family. And then even when you look at the people that are more of my heroes that I get a chance to talk to, like the Steve Garveys and the Ron Says and the Rick Mondays, and you start looking around talking to them, even it's such a pleasure for me at least 20 times a game or a season I get to just have these chats with Oro about different things because I'll watch him on the broadcast when they're away and he'll say different things and I'll try to ask him, okay, what's the insight behind when you say the ball had too much rotation or this, that, and other? And he'll actually take the time and break it down for me and show me. So we walk in at the park sometimes at the same time, we walk out. So even that to me, to watch them, even though they should be here for a lot longer, it's just good to be able to sit and have these conversations with them. Even when we did the broadcast. So I was lucky enough to go on Fox with Liz Habib during the playoffs last season. They actually brought me on as a commentator. Me, Liz Habib, and then Steve Garvey's there and they're asking me for a walk-up song for what was Steve Garvey's walk-up song. So I just gave him, I said, well, since you've always been Mr. Clean, I just give you So Fresh and So Clean by the Outkast. But just to be able to do that and then commentate on the game after a playoff game with Liz Habib and Steve Garvey, I never saw that coming. You know what I mean? Yeah. Just to be in what we were in, and then I had even more limelight shed on me. I mean, because I was on the whole after broadcast, pretty much giving my breakdown of the game. So it's I don't know if I ever get a chance to do that again, but I kind of had to seize that moment and take it in. I just really that, and that's once I see Steve at the stadium, hopefully this year, hopefully I can get a chance to talk to him about it.
That is cool. What about in terms of your team contribution? You mentioned earlier that you get a ring and you're in the rank of the hierarchy of people who get rings.
Right.
It's about slot number 5. So the players, and then probably the secondary coaching staff.
Right.
And then who else is in line on either side of you? I'm just curious how that hierarchy goes.
So I'll always put it as players. Then I go coaches, secondary coaches, trainers, and then me, and then Dieter. Because I always look at it like this. Me what I do is twofold. It resonates across the board, whereas the fans and the players. Yeah. Dieter has a special place. Like not so many players really need Dieter. There's some that appreciate like there's old school players that appreciate the organ, but that's because that's how they came up.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's all you had. Now, the players across the board, they know they need the music because trust me, we had earlier this week, Justin Turner was calling up because we were like 10 minutes without music being on. I guarantee you, had the organ been playing, they'll look around and go, what, like, where's the music? So the players kind of need that vibe to get set up, which is like, that's a big part of it. And I take that very seriously, especially when our players are like getting them set up and getting them ready to go and kind of like mixing it up. So it's like, even though it's background, it's really forefront, like to them and getting ready, because if there's nothing on, the first thing they do is look up and go like, what's going on? And they start complaining, like, you know what I mean? Turn it on. And then I also take it as, so last year, but when COVID first hit and then they decided to have a season and they had a little bit of a preseason, but we weren't there. One of the first things that I remember Alana asking Dave Roberts is, how did it feel to have Severe back? You know, and first thing he said, I always say, I love when Severe's here. You can tell the energy's changed. It puts a pep in our step, and then we just enjoy. And also, I also look for Dave because I can always see him in the beginning of the game, bobbing his head, like, you know what I mean? He has no problem, like showing his energy. And like, I know once I can look down and I can see him bobbing his head, like I know it plays a part of consistency. And I try to appreciate even the age, because I have a certain formula I use. I always try to play an old school track. I always try to use horns. So I always try to make it go across the board for everybody, so everybody's enjoying what's going on. So I try to include everybody every game.
We've talked about our shared affinity for horns. So I got a 2-part question for you.
Okay.
Number one, what modern acts nowadays can we look to that have a horn section or something approximating a horn section?
I'm glad you asked. There's this track. Go ahead. Finish your question.
Well, and the second half of that question is, as we see the decline of horn sections in bands, you know, we don't live in an era that's got a TOP and a Sly and the Family Stone and an Earth, Wind and Fire.
Right.
That's not around.
Right.
But what sonically, energetically takes the place of horns?
Whew, wow. I would say
he just dug in the crate on us.
Yeah, I gotta get, because I want to reference you a track that I discovered last year that's just been my go-to. Sonically though, I don't know if it can be done. What I try to replace it with, or when I can't, if a track doesn't have the horns I need, then I look for the bass line or some sort of percussion that's gonna carry it,
provide the energy.
A lot of the producers now, I don't think had to really benefit, or
it's not in the toolkit anymore.
It's not in the toolkit anymore, and they came of the age when schools were trying to get rid of, you know what I mean, the music programs, which is, to me, is a travesty. Such a travesty.
There's gonna be long-term societal suffrage.
Yeah, I was hanging out yesterday and I went past a high school. I don't even know what high school was, and the band was practicing outside, and I applauded that. I said, because this is a band teacher who's still keeping it together and then still working within this. They were all just outside. They're pretty much full on band, and they were practicing. And I to me, that gets so lost on the youth. That's why we have so many lost kids, I think, because people don't have another outlet. Everybody's not going to be A, B's, and C's. You know what I mean? Somebody has to be the musicians, and somebody has to be the actors, or somebody has to be the artist. You still need that. And for us to not really consider art as a necessity, I believe is a travesty.
Yeah.
But I always look for either the bass line or the vocal to carry, because if you can get a good vocal to carry it, because like I said, horns, but the things that horns does, it's like whenever I bring a track in, and I brought in several tracks last year that had these horns, and I try to make them like any specific to where I get a long enough time to play them. There's this track by this group called Breakdown Brass, man, and it's Breakdown Brass, and they have this track called Monmouth, that was by far my favorite track of the year last year. And what it did was it actually turned me on to some more bands that are doing this with horns. So I believe it's becoming a lot more prevalent. But that track right there, and my man, what is my man? Leon Bridges has this track, Bad News, that by far right now is my favorite track that has horns, vocals. It's definitely Bruno Mars-esque, but it takes it to a whole other level. But those two right there, I couldn't wait to take the Leon Bridges track this year. I brought out like the first game, and I always like to watch like people. This is the first time I get to watch, because there was nobody in the press box last year. Last year was just us separated. So I knew who to look for to see who was kind of tapping their foot and kind of like moving. to see the whole like media now, like, okay, like listening for different stuff and then like kind of bobbing their head as they're on the laptops. And I know I'm only going to get them for that one specific inning, because everything else is like noise to them, because it's either the hip hop that the players pick or the other stuff, or it's like too loud or this and that other. But I know they can always count on me to do that and an old school jam. And then one of the main old school jams I brought back last year, and I will do this year, was Shake by Gap Band, because the horns in that are incredible too. So, and it's always our sound man is a DJ too. And whenever I'm playing a track and I can catch him like peeking over my Serato, which is every game, that's how I know I got you. As soon as you peek at my Serato or try to lean in, or I see you on your phone, that's how I know I got you. And that's always my number one goal is to when I see people tell me that you keep me Shazamming at the stadium all the time, I was like, that's how I know I'm doing good, because you don't know the track and you want to know the track.
Right.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this, because you and Dieter have to work together, and then the whole incredible show production that goes on for the game is incredible. But if horns are starting to get outdated, when Dieter's like, hang on a second, DJ Severe, give me some room. I'm going to play Baby Elephant Walk by Mancini because a fat guy just got to walk on. Are the organ jokes running out of steam as well? Or like you can't, because that's a classic of the organist, right? Like they're telling the jokes with the music. And maybe they don't play Baby Elephant Walk. That's just a good example.
No, I mean it's definitely date. It's genre and date specific, because you can kind of see, Dieter and I, we both get our visitors in the beginning. And it's funny because they'll come because everybody wants to see Dieter, and he has his favorites, and they usually have like kids with them. And so the kids usually asking, well, who does, because some people think just Dieter does everything. And so when he has to tell them that, okay, well, I do this, but Severe does this, and Severe does this, and Severe does this. It's almost like the energy changes from like Dieter, and they come on me, because then they ask, well, Dieter, do you talk to the players? And they say, well, no, Severe talks to the players. So it's like, it usually will be age specific. Like, those who like the organ, they stay concentrated on Dieter, but those who like the whole total element, then they'll want to ask me questions as well, especially when they know I have like one-on-one contact with the players. And then when they find out that I do something that they thought Dieter did as well. But the marriage and the compliment is hard to, I think, it's one of those things where people love it, but they don't know why they love it, because we can't explain it and you can't teach it. You kind of have to have two natural musicians that know timing and know situations. Like they couldn't bring in like a younger DJ and a younger organ player and think that it's going to work, because they're probably going to try to battle each other or like jockey for space. Like, and then you have to develop a kind of an old school sense of music. Like I know when Dieter's going to come in, and I know how to ride under. I know how to make it so whatever he's going to play works. And it's actually helpful to me because he can bring that element of playing it on the organ. That's a lot better, because that gets you two ways, where it's like you recognize the song and then it's on the organ, as opposed to me playing it. Like I do always play an old school song, but to me, I still want my songs to be full. So I'm going to go to something, and when I go to something, it's going to be like a Sledgehammer or Owner of a Lonely Heart, because I still want it to go and pound. So I lean more towards that. So the more subtle stuff, I let Dieter have all that, and then that is a welcome element, especially when we shift to a day game. then I let Dieter take a lot more, and I kind of like lay back a little bit because that's what to
a
me,
lot of nostalgia in the day game.
It's a lot of nostalgia in a day game, or like even when we do the like I said, anytime a player comes out that you have a song for him. No, I don't have a song for Sandy Koufax. Let's just let like Dieter take it and then play it out, and then once he plays it out and we move on to the next segment, then I come in and that's how we set. That's how you need to be able to set the stages for everything that goes. That's why it's good to have a great producer who can kind of just like lay back. Sometimes you get producers that want to overproduce, and sometimes you just gotta like lay out and let the professionals do what they know works. You know what I mean? And then
and get out of each other's way when they know the other guys got it.
Yeah. It's like me. Why do I need to bring in new hip hop when the players have the song choices? Like, that's enough. I don't need to come back in with like newer hip hop because they pretty much take care of that throughout the game as they should. Now, a lot of people think, well, why are you thinking I'm picking these songs and they don't? I was like, well, these are kids out here playing. Like, you think they want to hear what you wanted to hear? Like, you don't understand. Like, they're picking the newer hip hop because that's what they want to hear. That's what
turns them up.
That's what turns them on. So you let them have whatever, half the things that they listen to. I'm not going out listening to that or purchasing that, but I mean, I'll stay in tune with it because I need to know what they want to hear to keep them amped up. And the same thing is like when the players come in. When I talked to David Price last season, when just welcome in, he's like, let me explain something to you. He's like, being on other teams, like a lot of people want to come play here just for the element that the music is here, because it's like it's like always on all the players listed, they want to come play at Dodger Stadium. That's a big thing for someone wanting to just get to the stadium because they know the vibe is going to be right. And then just down the street at Angel Stadium, they don't allow a lot of stuff. So I don't even understand how being in LA and calling yourself LA, how do you don't try to amp it up just like a little bit? No knock on them, no disrespect, but I mean they don't do it.
I want to ask you this too, because you guys do it, and you didn't get to really flex it hard, but you have a brand new sound system there at the stadium, and the All-Star Game is going to be there this year. We were originally going to talk about this on the show, but let's talk about your new LA. That sound system is crazy, so let's talk about it.
Yeah, so it's by L Acoustics, and the one thing that we had all last year was turn it down, turn it down, turn it down. There's no fans in here to absorb what we needed to give out. So it's like we had this new toy that we couldn't really like unleash. Now we did kind of sort of like towards the end, like, and they were really tight on it. Everything was like this. So it's like, that's one thing I'm anticipating. Okay. Because once we can get back to at least half capacity and we can just let that thing go, because everybody wants to let it go, but it's just like, you can't, because it's just going to be just too loud. And then for those visiting press people that used to come in and complain, like, you really won't be complaining now. You might as well stay home, because when management really considers that a home field advantage, and so when they want to unleash it, especially in playoffs, they will unleash it. And I'm talking about everybody.
You gotta deal with it.
We have, and they do not care. So you can complain all you want and think that it's me turning it up, but it's not me, because they'll come out and say, turn it up, especially when we get to the playoffs. That's what's going to happen. But just to be able to, like, we all we heard was turn it down, it's too loud, turn it down, 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 turn it down. But once we get this, I'll tell you, once we get the fans in, it's going to go crazy. But the bass is so full, and the way that it's set up, and it doesn't actually need that much more volume, because it's set up to where everybody can feel everything. So I can't wait to really unleash it and see what it can do.
We have to acknowledge that LA is the entertainment capital of the universe.
Right.
And so to entertain people, and let's face it, baseball is a sports product, but it's an entertainment product. That's why we go to it. It entertains us.
Right.
And when you've put together the franchise lineup, you put together the vibe in the stadium, you've got the stadium itself, you have to deliver a product that leads the league. And that's kind of the burden that Los Angeles has. It's like, if you're a dancer, you want to dance it at Radio City Music Hall.
Right.
If you're a performer, you want to play Carnegie Hall. And if you're a baseball player, you want to go play at Dodger Stadium.
Right.
So I will say that, man, it's great that you take all these burdens seriously, because that's the only way you can live up to a burden that heavy.
Right. And it's almost like, too, like I've told you many times, it's an unknown burden because a lot of people don't know. They just come in and take it in. Very few get it and understand what it takes to get it done. They just kind of come in and enjoy it because, like you said, this is LA. So some people just expect like nothing less. One of the best compliments you can get is, I saw this week on Twitter, so somebody said, DJ Severe slaps at the stadium. You know what I mean? You just saw all these different things that people anticipate. Say, can't wait to come back and hear you at you know what I mean? And then appreciate so much for what you do. And then you always look at the avatars to see who it is, and just to see the different personalities and different people that respect what you do, which is another reason why I always try to stay interactive as much as possible with the fans. To kind of make it, because I love seeing this when it's like DJ Severe is so approachable, you know what I mean? And it's like, it takes a lot of work, but I feel it's much needed because I want to continue that for as long as I can, especially the interaction. The interaction actually helps me with my rhythm in the game because sometimes it's just baseball. So I actually need to look at Twitter to see like who's asking for this and who's asking for that. I just try to get ahead of it because the fans are so smart. Some of them know when a player changes a song. I even get, sometimes I might play a hip hop song and somebody says, did so-and-so pick that? And I go, no, I just use that. So it just lets you know the fans are listening. You know what I mean? Because they always want to ask, why did he pick this song or this, that, and sometimes you feel like you let them down because you don't really have an answer. It's just like, well, I just played a song or he just kind of picked that. You know what I mean? Because even half the time when you ask them, they don't really know. Sometimes it's just they like the song. You know what I mean? Me and Austin Barnes kind of go back. It was funny. Me and Austin Barnes exchanged this week because he always usually lets me give him suggestions. And so I said, you should try this because I like Jack Harlow. It's one of the young rappers I like. And then I know Austin Barnes likes him. So he shot back to me a couple tracks I hadn't known about. I was like, okay, yeah. And he said, let's go with this. So just to have that interaction with them on their songs, that's special too.
Yeah. Will there ever be this season a Bops only night?
You know what? I'm trying to find, I was just talking to Ricky, I'm trying to find a way to incorporate it into my Dodger night. So I want to merge the two. I'm going to figure out something because the first night it falls on a Thursday. I'm definitely going to try to slide my Bops drop in and then drop a couple songs. So I'm gonna see how I can work it. That's a good. Thank you for that. I'm trying to make it Bops Thursday so I can actually merge my two. And I do plan to go live on Twitch a couple times, just like mixing live, just to see how I can pull it off. You know what I mean? Just to bring people in. Because sometimes when I do it, I'll be surprised how many people just stay on live with me behind the scenes. Because I'm not showing the field and not showing anything that's going on, but just to be there. I think people just like the fact of, especially last year, just being included and being able to be there when they
backstage at a Dodger game.
Yeah, it's backstage. You know what I mean? So, particularly going to do it. I'm going to try to figure out a way how to incorporate it, not get in trouble, stay below the radar. You know what I mean? Not show too much and then just keep people as engaged as possible, especially on the bigger homestands, the start of a homestand. If I'm bringing in something new, some different music. So I'm going to try to incorporate that, but I will do a Bops, Thursday night. I'm going to do a Bops Thursday night at the stadium. Yes.
I like it.
This question is for nobody but me.
Okay.
Have you heard anything out of the Prince vault lately?
No.
That has made its way out?
No, but when I went to Paisley Park, I met I can't think of his name, the DJ at Paisley Park. And so I have an inside track to get anything that he has. I think once it's been released, because he has a bunch of secret stuff that he will kick out. My boss asked me for, it was a long YouTube version. I forget which track, but I reached out to him to see if he had it, and he sent it to me. And so I was able to give it to my boss. Yes. And so it's like I was amazed that I just asked him. He's like, yeah, I got it. I'll send it to you in the morning. So just to have that inside track. And then I really wanted to go back to Paisley Park like this past year because I want to try to make that trip every year. But I can't wait to go back, sit down with him, and just dig through his crates and see what he has. Michael Holtz, that's his name, DJ Michael Holtz. Michael Holtz is the Paisley Park DJ. And then he actually followed me, and I didn't even, one day he just popped in on my live. I believe it was around a Prince Day, and then I was like, that's Michael Holtz. So it's like we picked up communication again. But anything Prince you need, let me know. I'm sure he has it.
Hey man, I would like to make that pilgrimage with you.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Most definitely.
So, what are you looking forward to in terms of the team? I mean, obviously the team's awesome this year, and if your best weak spot is a bench player and their positive attitude, it's hard to find a weakness on the team. So let's not focus on how incredible the Dodgers are. But what else are you looking forward to in terms of this first real-ish season that we've had in 2 years?
Player-wise, Gavin Lux, seeing if he can step up, because I know he's has some struggles, but I want to see how he steps into the role with no Kike, because he's going to be definitely an integral part. Another integral part to me, and I've always tell him a lot, is Rios. Rios is going to be such an integral part stepping in, because if Turner goes down, because we hope he doesn't, but Turner always finds his way to at least land up on the disabled list at least once a season. Rios stepping in and his bat just getting better and better and better. Hopefully Muncy can just carry first, but then when we need Cody to come in at first, I believe Cody at first is going to help his longevity, not have to play center field so much running into the wall. Hopefully he doesn't, have to do that. The pitching staff, seeing what we can do with a real deep pitching staff, like 5 to 6 starters, and then definitely middle relief.
That pitching staff is ridiculous. The weakest guy out there. I mean, honestly, you could pitch that staff, DJ Severe, and they could cover you up, because there's not a weak arm in the entire staff.
There's not a weak arm. And then I really hope that Kenley can find a groove and get back to where he can be a fan favorite again, and then where Dave can get him in his spot, and he can pick up like how we had a Maeda, where he turned on and he was that middle relief, like, that once was a starter but came in and did the job. Fans wise, just looking forward to them being able to come back, us also having a full Dodger Vision staff, because a lot of people don't realize our staff was cut from 30 people to 12 people last season.
Whew.
So a lot of people were out of work. A lot of people in the entertainment industry were out of work. I'm coming back to the stadium now, and you're seeing, well, this person's not here anymore because they went and got a different job. So I just want to see from the Dodger family, the faces that can come back and everyone feed their family. Hopefully we can get through this with, no more virus infections, and we can tailor down and we can get back to regular life as soon as possible. But those are some of the main things, Dodger wise, either in those things, I think we're going to be okay. It's just a matter of seeing everybody get back to regular life at Dodger Stadium, and then that it being everything that we used to be. I mean, you got to think about it. We don't even have our cafeteria anymore where we used to sit and eat. We have I don't even think it's coming back, because that's just going to be the new reality. So there's no more food where people are preparing food for you and serving food for you, and you're standing in line and you're waiting for it. So we have these high-tech vending machines now that we go to every day. So, and those are people's jobs that you don't have anymore, that you would have conversations with, that you look forward to seeing, that were part of your family, because you spent 81 days out of the year with them. Mr. Mims, James Mims, the security guard at the press box. I haven't seen him in 2 years, and he's one of my favorite people, and we keep in contact every year. Just those behind the scenes staples that people really don't know about. You know what I mean? Just to hear those voices over the phone, because Mr. Mims not getting any younger, and it's just I was, you start losing people, you're concerned about different things like that. So just that element alone, the small things that people don't know about. And then I just want to play my part in making it the same and even more what people were used to when they were last at the stadium.
Yeah, that's the story that Pete and I tell often about that cafeteria.
Yeah.
And we're sorry to see those kind of things go, because you're right. You spend time with those people.
Right.
And, man,
They become family, man.
Yeah.
Family,
I was going to ask you if there are any Dodger players who are no longer on the team, like a Kike, who you keep in contact with and maintain a relationship with still.
Yeah, Kike. So right when the news came about, I text Kike, texted back. I was like, man, thanks for everything. And he was like, man, thanks for always being a solid cat and always keeping it pumping, and then like keep up the good work. That was one of the main ones. So, and I was that one kind of got me, because me and Kike talk probably more than any other player. I have videos of him dancing to, my music, him and Russell Martin, you know what I mean? And then just so many clips of him, you know what I mean? Just dancing to my music. And then he was one of the main ones where he would say, man, let's check this out. Let's try it out, see if it works. And he would ask me, what you think? You know what I mean? And I would say, wow, maybe move it here, move it there. But Kike, although I knew he was gone, it was still a big blow. But just to be able to have them message me back, on their way out, you know what I mean, is positive. You know what I mean? And the players I keep up with, like Matt. When Matt, if he's on the team, whenever he comes back, I can always go down and talk to Matt. And Matt brings all the players around me and introduces me to them. You know what I mean? Because I have other players I like to watch, like for their shoe game and different things. But Matt always tells me, he always brings around, hey, this is Severe. He's the one that keeps it pumping here. So it's like, just to meet these other players when they come in and get that acknowledgement is dope. So Matt, by far, is one of my favorite people, who actually chimed into, he tapped into one of my lives and all season, hung out for a minute. And of course, the ladies went crazy when I started talking to him. But me and Matt, so Matt, Kike, even Manny, me and Manny are still cool. So, and I like that part of it. Just even though they're gone, it's like to remain like positive, and like when I go see them, it's like they recognize me and they give me you know what I mean? And that's one of the most special things.
You help them out 81 days a year.
No, right. You know what I mean? Jerry Hairston, who I can talk to about it. I can hit up if there's something I want to ask. I can hit up Jerry Hairston all the time. Hey, Jerry Hairston, give me a scoop. I think this is how it's gonna work. And Jerry Hairston has such a good baseball mind, but for him to even shout me out on an MLB, like he shouted me out a couple times saying we got the best DJ like in the MLB. You know what I mean? So just little things like that. I'm hoping we get a chance to get the All-Star game back. We get it 2022, and that I get a chance to shine. Hopefully, that's what I'm looking forward to.
I got to do one update, because as we're talking, the Dodgers' first game is going on, and we're going to be watching that here in a few minutes. But apparently, according to Doug, Bellinger already went deep one time this year. So there you go. He's on a pace to hit 100 million home runs this year.
Yeah, that's good. That's good to see. That's good to see.
Listen, I appreciate you coming on, man. I don't have any other questions for you. I just know that I love you. I love everything that you're doing. I want to link you up with John Mosley, the guy that coaches the East LA community college basketball team. Those guys, let me watch that Last Chance U, but he was on the show.
I did.
Man, it's such a good episode. And you know what kind of dude that guy is, and you guys need to know each other, because who knows what kind of favors and what kind of benefit we can give those young men that he coaches by you guys being connected. So I'm going to do that. And unless you have anything else, John, I'm good, man. I will talk to you later on, DJ Severe. I appreciate you.
Just sending you some love, man.
Appreciate you guys always.